The stone trial circle stood in the center of the ancient forest, cold and unforgiving. Tall trees surrounded it like silent witnesses. Their leaves did not move. Even the wind seemed afraid to breathe. Every important alpha of the region had gathered. They stood in a wide circle, their expressions hard, their eyes filled with judgment. This was not a place of mercy. It was a place where wolves were broken or erased. In the middle of the circle stood a young woman named Lyra. Silver chains wrapped tightly around her wrists and ankles. They burned her skin, draining her strength. Her head was lowered, not in shame, but in exhaustion. She had been dragged here at dawn, accused before she could even defend herself. Whispers moved through the crowd. She is cursed. She has no real wolf. She hides something dangerous. Lyra had heard these words all her life. She was known as the broken wolf, the girl whose wolf never fully awakened. While others shifted proudly, she struggled. While others rose in rank, she remained at the bottom. And now she was on trial. The high alpha stepped forward. His presence alone forced weaker wolves to bow their heads. His voice was loud, sharp, and filled with authority. Lyra of the North Pack, he said, "You stand accused of hiding your true nature." The murmurs grew louder. The high alpha continued, "You are accused of deceiving the pack, weakening our order, and bringing instability." Lyra lifted her eyes slowly. Her gaze was calm, but deep inside, her heart was racing. "I have hidden nothing," she said softly. Laughter broke out among the alphas. "Then prove it." Another alpha snapped. "Shift. Here. Now." The word struck like a blade. Lyra's breath caught. Her fingers tightened around the chains. This was what they wanted. This was why they brought her here. To humiliate her. To end her. The Elder Council exchanged looks. One of the elders, ancient and gray, raised a staff. "By the law of the packs," the elder said, "you are ordered to shift before the council." The sentence was final. Lyra closed her eyes. Memories flooded her mind. Her childhood, the fear, the night she cried alone, and her mother's voice, soft, urgent, filled with pain. "Never reveal your true wolf," her mother had whispered before dying. "Not until the world is ready. Not until you are ready." Lyra had never understood why. Until now, she opened her eyes again and looked around the circle. She saw hatred, fear, curiosity. Not a single face showed kindness. They did not want truth. They wanted control. "If I refuse?" Lyra asked quietly. The high alpha smiled coldly. "Then you will be executed for treason." Silence fell. The forest seemed to lean closer. Lyra felt the weight of the moment pressed down on her chest. This was the end of the path she had been walking her entire life. Run and die later, or face the truth and change everything. She took a slow breath. "Very well," she said. The chains glowed brighter as she stepped into the center of the circle. The stone beneath her feet felt old, carved with symbols no one remembered anymore. The alphas watched closely. Some smirked. Some looked bored. Some waited eagerly for her failure. Lyra closed her eyes again. She reached inward, not to force her wolf, but to accept it. At first, nothing happened. The crowd chuckled. "She really is broken," someone said. Then the air shifted. A low hum spread through the ground. The stone circle trembled slightly, as if something deep below had stirred. Lyra's breath grew steady. The pain from the chains faded. Instead, warmth spread through her chest. The forest went silent. No birds, no insects, no wind. The silver chains began to crack. One of the elders frowned. "That's not possible." Light began to leak from Lyra's skin, soft at first, pale, like moonlight. The alphas stepped back without realizing it. The ground shook harder now. Lyra's hair lifted, as if touched by an unseen force. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears, not fast, not scared, but strong. Steady, ancient. The light grew brighter. "Stop this," the high alpha shouted, but his voice shook. The chains shattered. A shockwave rolled outward, forcing several alphas to stumble. The trial circle split. With a loud crack, the light exploded upward, blinding everyone. Aelira cried out, not in pain, but in release. Power poured out of her like a tide long held back. When the light finally began to fade, the forest remained frozen in fear. A massive shape stood where Aelira had been, white fur glowing softly, eyes like stars caught in ice. A presence so heavy it crushed the air itself. Not an alpha, not a queen, something older, something forbidden. Knees hit the stone one by one. The alphas bowed, some willingly, some forced by the weight of her presence. The elder dropped his staff, whispering in terror. To White Luna, the wolf lifted her head slowly and looked around the shattered circle. And for the first time, the pack realized the trial was never hers. It was theirs. If you want, I can now. The trial circle did not move. No one breathed. Every alpha remained frozen on their knees, as if the ground itself had claimed them. The pressure in the air was heavy, thick, impossible to resist. It pressed against their chests, their minds, their very souls. At the center of the broken stone circle stood the White Luna. Her fur shimmered like fresh snow under moonlight. It did not glow with heat or fire. It glowed with calm authority. Her size was larger than any alpha present. Yet her stance was steady, controlled, almost gentle. She slowly turned her head, her eyes open fully. They were not red, not gold, not blue. They were silver white, deep and endless, like the moon reflected on still water. The moment her gaze passed over the pack, several wolves lowered their heads completely. Their bodies shook, not from fear alone, but from recognition buried deep in their blood. Old instinct awakened. Ancient obedience returned. The high alpha struggled against an invisible weight holding him down. His teeth clenched. His pride screamed inside his chest. This is impossible, he growled. White Lunas are extinct. The White Luna's ears twitched. She turned toward him. The ground beneath the high alpha cracked as the pressure increased. His knees slammed into stone, forcing a grunt from his throat. His arms trembled as he tried and failed to rise. The White Luna did not roar. She did not bare her teeth. She simply looked at him. And that was enough. An elder whispered in horror. The legends were true. Another elder shook his head, voice shaking. No, they were erased. All records destroyed. The White Luna took one slow step forward. Stone turned to dust beneath her paw. Every wolf felt it then, not just power, but judgment. Not rage, but balance. Not hatred, but truth. Inside the White Luna's mind, Aelira was awake. She was not lost. She was not consumed. She stood within the vast space of her awakened form, feeling her heartbeat match the rhythm of the forest. For the first time in her life, she felt whole, and she remembered everything. Her mother's voice echoed clearly now, no longer broken by fear. They will kneel, her mother had said long ago, not because you demand it, but because their souls will remember what they forgot. Aelira understood. This was not domination. This was remembrance. The high alpha forced his head up, eyes burning with humiliation. If you are truly a Luna, he spat, then claim your throne, rule us. A low sound rumbled from the White Luna's chest. Not anger, not laughter, something close to sadness. She stepped closer until she stood before him. Her shadow fell over his bowed form. When she spoke, her voice echoed to the forest, layered, wolf and woman, power and calm. I was never meant to rule. The word stunned the circle. The White Luna lifted her head, her gaze traveling across the elders, the alphas, the gathered wolves. We were made to watch, she continued, to guide, to stop those who forgot why strength exists. The elders exchanged fearful looks. One old wolf crawled forward despite the pressure. His fur was gray with age, his eyes filled with old memories. My grandmother, he whispered. She spoke of you of moon guardians. The White Luna met his gaze. You hunted us, she said simply. The elder bowed his head to the stone. Because we feared you. Silence followed. Fear was the truth no one wanted to speak. The high alpha clenched his fists. You hid among us, he said. You let us believe you were weak. Alira's voice softened. I was weak because I was forced to be. She took another step. The chains that once bound her lay melted and forgotten. The trial circle, once a place of judgment, now looked small beneath her presence. You feared what you could not control, she said. So you built laws to crush anything different. The white Luna turned slowly, making every wolf feel seen. You call it order, she continued, but it is fear wearing a crown. Some wolves began to cry quietly. They had never questioned the system, never questioned the cruelty. The white Luna raised her head toward the sky. Clouds parted above, revealing a pale moon. Even though night had not yet fully fallen, moonlight poured down, bathing the circle in white. The pressure eased just slightly. Stand, she said. The command was not forced. Yet wolves rose without thinking, all except the high alpha. She looked down at him. You demanded I shift, she said calmly. You believe power must always kneel to your rules. Her eyes hardened, not with rage, but certainty. Now understand this, she said. There are powers older than your laws. The forest answered her words. Trees bent inward. Roots shifted beneath the soil. The air itself seemed to listen. The white Luna stepped back into the center of the circle. This trial is not finished, she declared. It is only changed. The elders felt it then. The judgment was no longer about Alira. It was about them. And for the first time since the trial began, fear truly settled in their hearts. Because the white Luna was awake, and she was watching. The pressure returned. Not crushing, not violent, but heavy enough to remind every wolf who stood at the center of the broken trial circle. The white Luna stood still. She did not attack. She did not roar. That silence frightened the alphas more than any display of force. The high alpha remained on his knees. Sweat ran down his face despite the cool forest air. His pride screamed at him to stand, to fight, to challenge her, but his body refused. For the first time in his life, he felt small. You judge us, he said through clenched teeth. By what right? The white Luna turned her head slowly. Her gaze was calm, but it cut deeper than anger. By the same right you used to judge me, she replied. The words landed like stones. Murmurs spread among the gathered wolves. Some shifted nervously. Others stared at the ground, suddenly remembering past choices they had never questioned. The white Luna stepped forward again. This time, she did not face the high alpha. She faced the entire council. You built your rule on strength alone, she said. You called it survival. But you forgot mercy. An elder tried to speak. His voice shook. We did what was necessary to keep order. The white Luna looked at him. You silenced those who were different, she said. You broke them, then called them weak. Her eyes moved across the circle. How many wolves were cast out, she asked. How many were punished for being born wrong? No one answered, because everyone knew. Images rose in their minds. Exiles sent into the wild. Children trained through pain. Wolves who vanished quietly. The white Luna lifted her paw. The ground rippled outward like water. Suddenly, the air filled with faint images, shadows of the past. Wolves standing where they once stood. Wolves crying, begging, breaking. The alphas gasped. This is not illusion, the white Luna said calmly. It is memory. Several wolves collapsed, unable to bear the weight of what they saw. The high alpha shouted, Enough! The white Luna's gaze snapped back to him. He froze. You fear judgment, she said, stepping closer, because you know it is deserved. He bared his teeth. If you destroy us, the packs will fall into chaos. Alira's voice softened. I will not destroy you. Confusion spread. Then what do you want? He demanded. The white Luna stopped only a few steps away. Her shadow covered him completely. I want you to face yourselves, she said. She turned away from him and addressed the crowd. Strength without purpose is cruelty, she said. Order without justice is tyranny. The pressure in the air shifted again, lighter, but sharper. One by one, the alphas felt something change inside them. Not pain, not fear, exposure. Their ranks, their titles, their authority, all of it felt thin, fragile. The white Luna raised her head. "From this moment," she declared, "your power is stripped." The forest responded. A deep sound rolled through the trees. Invisible chains snapped, not physical ones, but something deeper. Bonds of dominance shattered. Several alphas cried out as their authority vanished. Their auras faded, leaving them ordinary. The high alpha stared at his hands in disbelief. "What have you done?" "I returned what you stole," the white Luna replied. She turned to gather wolves, hunters, guards, healers, scouts. "Leadership is not inherited," she said. "It is earned." The wolves felt it then. Freedom. For the first time, they could breathe without fear of rank. Some stepped back. Others stepped forward. An older warrior dropped to one knee, not because he was forced, but because he chose to. "You spared us," he said quietly. "Why?" The white Luna looked at him. "Because punishment without change is meaningless," she said. The elders trembled. "What happens to us?" one asked. The white Luna's eyes narrowed slightly. "You will live," she said, "and you will answer to those you once ruled." That frightened them more than death. The high alpha lowered his head at last. His voice was empty. "What are you?" The white Luna paused. For a moment, the forest held its breath. "I am what remains when fear loses its hold," she said. Slowly, the light around her softened. The massive white wolf began to shrink, glowing gently as her form changed. When the light faded, Elira stood where the Luna had been. Her hair was pale, almost white. Her eyes still carried the moon's glow. She stood tall, unchained, unbroken. No one laughed now. No one mocked her. They bowed, not because they had to, but because they understood. Elira looked around the ruined trial circle. "This place was built to break wolves," she said. "Let it be remembered instead." She turned away from the alphas and walked toward the forest's edge. The trees parted for her, welcoming her presence. Behind her, the pack stood silent. The system they had always known was gone. And something new, something uncertain but hopeful, had begun as Elira disappeared into the trees. One truth remained clear to every wolf who watched her leave. The age of fear was over, and the age of judgment had only just begun. The forest swallowed Elira's footsteps, but she did not go far. She stopped at the edge of a quiet clearing where moonlight fell gently through the trees. Her body felt lighter now, yet heavier in another way. Power still moved through her veins, calm and endless, like a river that never dried. Behind her, the packs remained frozen in silence. No one followed. Not yet. Elira knelt and placed her hand on the earth. The ground was warm beneath her palm, alive and listening. When she closed her eyes, memories returned, not just hers, but older ones carried through blood and time. She saw them clearly now. The first white Lunas. They were not rulers. They were not queens. They were chosen. Long ago, when wolves first formed packs, strength ruled everything. Alphas fought endlessly. Packs burned each other to ground. The forest bled. The moon answered that chaos. From its light, the white Lunas were born, not to command, but to correct. They could feel imbalance the way others felt hunger. When power became cruelty, they stepped in. They judged without anger. They punished without hate. And because of that, they terrified the alphas. Elira opened her eyes slowly. "That is why you erased us," she whispered into the night. "Not because we were monsters, but because we could not be controlled." A presence stirred behind her. An old wolf approached carefully. It was the same gray elder who had spoken earlier. His steps were slow, respectful. He stopped several paces away and lowered his head. "You remember," he said softly. Elira stood and faced him. "I always remembered," she replied. "I was just taught to fear it." The elder's eyes were wet. "Your mother came to us once," he said. "She begged us to change." Elira's chest tightened. "And you refused." The elder nodded. "We chose comfort over truth." Silence fell between them. Then Elira spoke again. "The trial circle was built to test strength," she said. "But strength alone destroys itself." She turned toward the packs gathering at the forest edge. Wolves watched from a distance, uncertain, afraid, curious. They need guidance, the elder said. They will look to you. Alira shook her head gently. No, she said. They must learn to look to each other. The elder frowned. Then what will you do? Alira looked up at the moon. I will do what my kind was meant to do, she said. I will walk where imbalance grows. A sudden cry echoed from the clearing behind them. Two former alphas were arguing loudly, their voices sharp and desperate. You have no right, one shouted. This chaos is your fault, the other replied. Alira walked back toward the sound. The wolves parted instinctively, creating a path for her. No one dared block her way. The two alphas froze when she stopped before them. You ruled through fear, Alira said calmly. Now fear rules you. One of them growled. You took everything from us. Alira met his eyes. No, she said. I took nothing. She raised her hand slightly. You gave it up the moment you forgot why leadership exists. The alpha's anger faded, replaced by something worse, understanding. Around them, younger wolves began to step forward. Healers, scouts, fighters who had never spoken in council halls. They looked uncertain but hopeful. An old she-wolf spoke first. If the old order is gone, she asked, what replaces it? Alira looked around the circle. Responsibility, she answered. Truth. And the courage to listen. The wolves murmured among themselves. For the first time, voices that were once silent were heard. Alira felt the balance shift, not violently, but naturally, like a broken bone finally set in place. But deep within her chest, another feeling stirred. A warning. She stiffened. The elder noticed. Something is wrong, he said. Alira nodded slowly. The imbalance is not only here. Her eyes narrowed. She could feel it now like distant thunder. Far beyond the forest, beyond known pack lands, something ancient had awakened. Something that had noticed her. They will come, she said quietly. Who? The elder asked. Those who benefited most from the old fear, Alira replied. Those who erased my kind. A hush fell over the clearing. You mean, the elder began. Yes, Alira said. The moon hunters. The name alone sent shivers through the wolves. They were legends. Shadow groups that hunted white lunas, feeding on imbalance and chaos. Wolves who believed power should never be questioned. They will not accept this change, Alira continued, and they will not accept me. A young wolf stepped forward, fear in his eyes. Will you fight them? Alira looked at him carefully. If I must, she said, but my goal is not war. She turned back to the forest edge. I will leave, she said. If I stay, you'll depend on me, and dependence creates weakness. The elder bowed deeply. Then what should we tell the packs? Alira paused, then spoke words that would be remembered for generations. Tell them this, she said. The white Luna does not rule. She reminds. She stepped back into the trees. Moonlight followed her form until it faded into shadow. Behind her, the wolves stood in silence, not broken, not ruled, but changed. And far away, in lands where the moonlight never touched gently, eyes open in the darkness, the hunters had felt her awakening, and they were already moving. The night changed before the moon reached its highest point. Alira felt it first. She stood on a ridge overlooking the forest, her cloak moving softly in the cold air. The land below was quiet, too quiet. The balance she felt earlier had shifted again, but this time it was sharp, twisted, and hungry. They are close, she whispered. The trees ahead trembled, not from wind, but from movement that did not belong. Shadows slipped between trunks, fast and silent. They did not move like normal wolves. They moved like predators hunting a god. Behind Alira, the forest packs were gathering. Word had spread faster than fear. Wolves stood together now. Former rivals, former servants, former outcasts. They did not know how to fight what was coming, but they chose to stand. Alira turned to them. Her voice was calm, steady. Do not chase them, she said. Do not answer hatred with rage. A young warrior stepped forward. They are moon hunters, he said. They kill white Lunas. Alira nodded. They hunt imbalance, she replied. And tonight, they believe I'm in balance. A low laugh echoed from the trees. Slow clapping followed. Figures stepped into the moonlight. Wolves wearing dark armor marked with broken moon symbols. Their eyes glowed dull red, not with strength, but with hunger. The one in front smiled. So the stories were true, he said. A white Luna lives. Alira did not move. You should have stayed forgotten. The hunter tilted his head. And let you undo centuries of work. He laughed. No. More hunters appeared, surrounding the clearing. They moved with confidence. They had done this before. The leader spread his arms. You weaken packs, he said. You take power from those strong enough to claim it. I return it to those who earn it, Alira replied. His smile faded. Then you are worse than your kind ever was. He raised his hand. Silver chains shot from the hunters, flying like serpents. They wrapped around Alira's arms and legs, burning with dark runes. The packs cried out. Alira staggered, but did not fall. You learn nothing, the hunter said. Silver binds even moons. Alira looked down at the chains, then back at him. You still believe power is taken, she said softly. She closed her eyes. The forest responded. Roots burst from the ground, wrapping around Hunter's legs. Trees bent inward, blocking escape. Moonlight brightened, washing away the dark glow of the runes. The chains cracked. The hunters stepped back in shock. That's impossible, one shouted. Alira opened her eyes. They shone brighter than before. I am not here to dominate you, she said. I am here to end what you protect. The leader snarled and lunged. Alira moved. Not fast, not violent. She simply stepped aside. The hunter crashed into an invisible force and was thrown back like a broken toy. He hit the ground hard, gasping. The pack stared in disbelief. Alira raised her hand, stopping them from charging forward. This fight is not won with claws, she said. The hunters regrouped, anger replacing confidence. You think mercy makes you strong? The leader spat. No, Alira replied. Choice does. She turned to Pax. You were taught to obey, she said. Tonight choose. The hunters attacked again. This time the packs moved. Not in rage. Not in chaos. Together, healers shielded the wounded. Scouts blocked flanks. Warriors defended. Not for dominance, but for each other. The hunters were strong. But they were alone. One by one, they fell, not dead, but broken in spirit. Their power depended on fear, and fear no longer ruled the forest. The leader stood trembling, surrounded. He looked at Alira with disbelief. What are you? She stepped closer. I am the end of your excuse, she said. Moonlight surged. The leader screamed as the dark symbols on his armor faded, stripped away. He collapsed, powerless. Alira turned away. Leave, she said, and never hunt in my shadow again. The remaining hunters fled into the darkness, their legend shattered. Silence followed. The pack stood breathing hard, staring at one another. They had fought, not because they were ordered to, but because they chose to. Alira felt the balance settle at last. The elder approached, bowing deeply. You could have ruled, he said. You could have commanded us. Alira shook her head. Then nothing would change. She looked at the packs, standing united, not kneeling. This is your victory, she said. The moon dipped lower in the sky. Alira turned toward the deeper forest. Will we see you again? A young wolf asked. Alira paused and smiled faintly. When you no longer need me, she said. She stepped into the shadows. Behind her, the packs did not bow. They stood tall, and the world was stronger for it. The forest was quiet again, but it was not the same quiet as before. It was different now, alive, awake, and careful. Wolves that had once feared their own shadows now walked tall, their ears alert, their eyes bright. They carried a lesson that would never fade. Strength is not measured by power alone, but by courage, justice, and the choices one makes. Alira had disappeared into the shadows of the forest. She walked silently beneath the moon, her cloak brushing the grass. Her pale hair caught the moonlight, making her appear almost unreal. Some said she had become part of the forest itself, a guardian spirit rather than a living wolf. She did not look back. She did not need to. She could feel the forest behind her, the packs that had witnessed her awakening, the lives she had changed. Each step she took echoed not with pride, but with purpose. Far away, the former High Alpha sat on a stone, staring at where Alira had vanished. His pride had been shattered, but something deeper had changed. He could feel it in his bones, in his mind. Fear had been replaced by reflection. For the first time, he understood what leadership truly meant. "Do you think she will return?" One of the younger wolves whispered. "Perhaps," an elder replied. "But she does not rule. She reminds." That was the difference. Alira walked deeper into the forest. She remembered the first days she had been called the broken wolf. She had hidden, afraid, alone. Now, she was not broken. She was whole, not because she had power, but because she had chosen the right path. The memory of the moon hunters still lingered, but they had been scattered. Their threat would come again, perhaps, but she would not fear it. She would not rule through domination. She would guard, guide, and intervene only when the balance demanded it. As she passed a small stream, the water reflected her face. Pale eyes glimmered back at her, calm and wise. She smiled faintly. She was alone, but never lonely. Her presence was enough, and the world now carried the memory of her awakening. In the forest beyond, in villages and distant pack lands, whispers began. Whispers of a wolf with white fur and eyes that shone like the moon. Some said she was a myth. Some said she was a dream. But everyone who heard the story knew one truth. She had changed the world. The young wolves of the packs began to teach each other differently. No longer did the strongest dictate terms. Decisions were made together. Mistakes were admitted. Courage was measured not by fighting, but by standing for what was right. Alira's lesson had spread, even without her presence. Deep in the forest, Alira stopped at a ridge overlooking a valley bathed in moonlight. She could see the rivers, the hills, and the scattered lights of small camps. The world was fragile, full of imbalance, but it was alive, full of potential. She knelt and placed her hand on the earth. A subtle pulse moved through her fingers, like a heartbeat connecting her to everything around her. She could feel the forest, the packs, even the distant mountains. Life itself seemed to acknowledge her presence. Her mind drifted to her mother, how she had warned her, how she had begged her to hide. But now Alira understood. Power could be feared, yes, but understanding, restraint, and choice, these were the true strengths of a white Luna. A rustle in the underbrush caught her attention. A young wolf, barely grown, stepped out. His eyes were wide, his stance unsure. "You're real?" he asked, voice trembling. Alira knelt slightly to meet his gaze. "Yes," she said softly, "I am real, but I am not here to rule you." The young wolf blinked. "Why not?" She smiled faintly. "Because ruling is easy. Teaching is hard. Guiding without control, that is strength." He nodded slowly, comprehension dawning. "I want to learn." "Then learn," she said, "and remember what you learn." The young wolf hesitated, then ran back toward the forest, spreading word of the white Luna. Alira watched him go, feeling the quiet satisfaction that comes not from power, but from knowing the world was slightly better for her presence. The moon climbed higher. Alira rose and began walking again, deeper into the wild. Shadows wrapped around her, but she did not vanish completely. Wolves would see her, perhaps, when they needed her, and they would remember her when she was gone. She paused one last time on a ridge, looking back toward the land she had changed. Her eyes glimmered, reflecting the moonlight. The legend of the white Luna would live forever, not in fear, not in control, but in the hearts of those who chose courage over cruelty, justice over domination, and truth over convenience. Her howl rose then, long, soft, and clear. It echoed across the valleys and forests, a sound both mournful and joyful, ancient and eternal. Wolves stopped to listen. Packs that had never spoken to each other heard it. Young and old, hunters and healers, strong and weak, they all paused. And in that moment, every wolf knew the world had changed. Lyra turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind a forest alive with the memory of her presence. And far away, in lands yet untouched, eyes open in the darkness. Hunters, predators, and rulers alike sense her awakening. They did not know when she would return, but they would remember her lesson. The White Luna did not need to rule. She only needed to exist. And that was enough. The legend had walked away, but the world would never forget.